Hello, 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 hello. I am so excited to introduce you guys to today's guest on the Future Medicine Variety Show. We have Hani Kaiserman here, who is one of my absolute favorite people. And I'll introduce her in a second and give you all some details about the magic that she shares with the world. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Andrea Donnelly. I am the creator of the Future Medicine modality, which is a multidimensional healing modality that I use to heal from previously disabling nerve pain, and now I share it with people all over the world for a variety of different reasons, essentially to anchor people back into their divine coding, help to reclaim their magic, their gifts, their spiritual intelligence, and to really reclaim and restore the power that each of us possesses as a creator being through shamanic journeying and deep, deep soul work with people around the world. And Hani is a graduate of my certification program where I teach people my method. She is a truly, truly beautiful gift to the world. Um, she is a guide, a mother, a woman who believes deeply in the power of transformation. Her work is rooted in the understanding that you already have the answers within you, which you guys, for those of you who know me, you know that that is really one of my like main pillars of belief. And so we immediately resonated with each other, and that it's all about essentially peeling back the layers of generational trauma and the overwhelm that modern life places on you so you can fully embrace yourself, your life, and be the person, the mother, the partner that you innately are. She supports women who are in pregnancy through postpartum and into their motherhood journey, and believes that women and mothers are setting the foundation for the next generation to change the world and restore justice and beauty and joy and love and stewardship. And that as you do your own inner work, that is the way that you guide your children to relate to the world through clarity, compassion, confidence. And she weaves the power of nature, grounding yourself through breath work, aligning your body, mind, and spirit into all that she does. And she's truly a living example of that balance, being rooted in nature, living a modern life of pleasure and abundance. And she is a phenomenal parent. She has a family of 4 extraordinary children, and just has created a remarkable life for herself. And she's actually joining us from somewhere very beautiful, which I will let her get into when we kick off. But Hani, thank you so much for joining us, for being here, for believing in future medicine and in yourself, and just like all of the things. So just if you want to, you can add whatever you'd like, and also just let people know where they can find you, which we'll also circle back to at the end. But I know there are people like me who like to be multitasking and like pulling people up on Instagram while they listen. So
That was such an incredible introduction. I'm like listening, like, wow, who is this?
who is this fucking star?
I wanna be her. Um, and also that's funny because I always, when I'm listening to podcasts, I will always go into the show notes and look them up to be like, who am I listening to? So my website is Breath of Hani. My business, my company name is Breath of Hani. So breathofhani.com. You can find me on Instagram at Breath of Hani. And if you are pregnant or in your postpartum stage of life, I recently started a new page called Birthing with Ease, and you can also find me there. And I mean, I don't know what else I would add to that beautiful introduction. I Yeah, currently I'm in Greece. I'm joining you live in Greece. I'm on a 7-month adventure with my family. Well, actually, my 3 daughters. My oldest, he started college in August, which was, yeah, a really, he's a Division 1 swimmer, and that was his goal. And made that happen for himself. So he wasn't able to embark on this great adventure with us, but he had other goals and he's thriving and happy where he's at. Yeah, so we have been all through the United States, um, Ireland, Spain. We're currently in Greece and we're going to finish up in Italy. And we'll be
It's
back to yeah, I'm from Maui, Hawaii, and we will be back to Maui January 2026.
it's what you've created for yourself is so profound and so beautiful. And I am just, I know I've said it, but I'm just like totally, in continual awe of what you have done for yourself, which we'll dive into. And before we get going any further, for those of you who are new to me, who are finding me through Hani, you can find me on weareheretoremember.com. Make sure, please, you guys, this helps so much to just help like spread the message and build the channel and, you know, create greater impact. But please follow, you know, follow me here on YouTube at birdtv.com. Like, rate, comment, share with anyone with whom, you know, you feel like this will resonate. You know, if you know women who are in the process of, you know, moving into the motherhood experience wherever they are in the journey, you know, certainly let them know about Hani and her work. And before we go any further beyond that, I am a woman. For those of you who are new to my world, you don't necessarily know this about me, but I love objects. I work in a truly multidimensional way, and I love show and tell. And before I do any kind of like client session or one of these future medicine interviews, I go through a catalog of beautiful treasures from around the world, from the natural world, from various different objects. And I pull things that will like anchor into the frequency that I'm sharing with a client or a guest. And so I'll just quickly walk through what I pulled here as it relates to Hani. So the first thing that I have is this beautiful little golden book. And it's a locket. It opens, and there's something about this energy. You know, we're going to talk more about Hani and her own journey, but especially you're on this incredible, beautiful trip, which is something that you dreamed about doing from the time that we started working with each other. And there's something about this energy. When I think about this particular little book term here, there's something about this energy of like you know, it reminds me in some way of like the energy of the tree of life, where it's like this energy of like reclaiming your stories, your history, and really creating powerful, beautiful memories for, you know, for yourself, for your family, for your community. So I have this guy. I also have this piece of a chandelier, which was from my great aunt's house. And it's interesting because Hani, as part of this trip, has been across Europe, and she was in Ireland, which is where a lot of my family was from. And so before we jumped on the call, I felt very strongly like this little piece here, this part of my own history, which to me always signifies, you know, ancestral healing, reclamation, really reconnecting to our sacred ancient roots. So I've got this guy with us. I have a couple of shells because I'm fucking obsessed with shells in the ocean. So I've got this guy here. I got a wee little tiny bit. And I just have two more things to share with you. One of them is this pin that a friend of mine who's an artist made. This always reminds me of Hani because she is so executively real. It says executive realness on it. She is just like a total, if such a thing is like a mom boss, or like perfect 14 out of 10, a million stars, mom boss exists. It is you. You are like a queen of I think balancing, you know, the realities of what it means to steward a family with a just like true sense of openness. And you are an exemplary mother. Your children are all just like so just like kind and beautiful and creative and driven. And you and your husband have really created this like magical path for each of them to really like claim who they are. So anyway, and then the last thing that I've got here, you all can tell that I am a talker. The last thing we have here, I'm just do is a book that I recently got on a trip to New York. It is a book from the most recent exhibit at MoMA, which was of Hilma Af Klint's work. It was called What Stands Behind the Flowers. And for a little more context, one of the things that I do when I work with people is that I help people restore their creative vision and really reconnect to the energy of being fully yourself and really using your infinite power to be able to create something beautiful and new and just truly transformative. And Hilma is an artist who has resonated with me for many years. I think her work is perhaps one of the most beautiful examples that we have of someone who was able to really weave her spiritual intelligence into something profound and beautiful. I sent Hani one of her other books, which is actually here. My computer is resting on it, which is from an exhibit of hers that was at the Guggenheim years ago. And you went so far, you were so inspired by it that at one point she sent me a picture. The book was it was in her car as she would, drive the kids around and go about her day to day. And she sent me a picture of it in the car, and she was like, "I have Hilma here protecting us, and creating like a sense of vibrancy and beauty and love." So anyway, thank you so much for being here and just being such an extraordinary person. I feel so lucky to know you and to be able to bear witness to everything you've done. So let's start with what landed you here and what drives and inspires you.
Okay, so what lands me here, meaning like in this moment or when we met or
Oh, yeah, let's do when we met and then also then we can get into what landed you, in this particular moment.
okay. So it's interesting actually, like when you were just talking and kind of doing the introduction and then the Hilma book, and I'm like reflecting back, like I remember receiving the book in the mail and that was years ago. And so then I started just kind of reflecting, like thinking for how many years I've known you now and how many years we worked together, and then going through future medicine and just where I was at in my life then to now and who I was then compared to now. And, I, it's like you're the same person. It's not like I was a different person and now I'm all of a sudden changed and I'm this different person, right? It's like, but when you reflect back at the evolution and the progression and the transformation, um, I think it happens so subtly that all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wow, that's amazing. So when I first started working with you and came into like future medicine, I was kind of, I wouldn't say I was at a crossroads necessarily, but I have 4 children, like you mentioned, and in a wide range of ages. Currently, my oldest is 18, 16, 9, a 5-year old. So I feel like my baby, Mila, who's now 5, she was probably like 2, maybe not even 2. I don't even think she was 2. And um, it was kind of like I was in this place of, okay, this is cool. Love, I really take pride in being a mother and a wife. And my husband and I created very successful businesses and investments. But I felt so much like there was something inside of me that I wanted, I guess, for myself. It was like this stirring, I guess, when I came to you, like I had this stirring inside of like, there's something there. And what do I want to do? I have something really powerful that I want to share with the world. And I just didn't, I feel like in one of our first sessions, I'm like, I don't know what it is. There's something there. And I just can't figure out what it is. Um, so that's kind of where I was at. It was almost like I was kind of like happy. I don't know, want to say happy go lucky going through life, but just um over the course of the past 4 years, I think there's been like a very deep evolution, like a soul remembrance. Maybe that kind of, I'm sure you can relate to that, right? Of who I am and what I want to bring to the world. And the really, really cool thing about it is what I kind of wanted to bring forward was what I was already doing with my family and my life and the way I was living and the connections that I was building with my children. And a lot of my work is rooted in generational trauma, which is like very near and dear to my heart. And so it was like everything that I was already living, I was able to kind of embody it in a different way to bring forward, I guess. Does that kind of make sense? So in the process of me first meeting you and where I was at over the course of time to land where I'm at right now, I yeah, kind of brought everything, like learned, grew, brought everything forward. If
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And it's funny. I was just thinking as you were talking about that, I think the first call we ever did was a session that I have that's called a soul exploration session. And I think you heard me on a podcast and then you were
Mhm.
like, I've got to
Yeah.
I've got to connect with this woman. And you booked a session and we did the call and one of the ways that one thing that's been really unique about my human experience is that I like to say that I was born remembering a lot of things that other people have forgotten. That I think the moment of time through which we move right now is very much a period of like reconnecting to and remembering a level of ancient wisdom, psychic vision, intuition, and a very deep connection to stewardship and justice, and really saying the things that have happened in this realm, whatever this realm is, which I think it's far more complicated than most people understand from the perspective that I have,
Mhm.
but really saying like we don't want what is happening here. We want something better. We want something better for our children. We want something better for our communities. We want something better for the land and the animals and the plants. And there were just so many ways that you and I really resonated. And I could see this level of wisdom that you also in many ways I feel like were born remembering, and it was how you innately
Mhm.
moved. And then there was this way where I could see that, you know, over the arc of the journey through which we moved, of me supporting you and mentoring you and helping you remember the power of who you were, that you had this incredibly magical relationship to your family and your children. And when I think about and I used to say this to you a lot when we were doing private mentorship one-on-one with each other, there's this way where you have what, to me, as someone who came from a very complicated family where I
Mhm.
did not have a lot of the traditional support that a lot of people have, and I've really had to like be my own, you know, I've long said like I am my own rainy day fund. Like I have really had to like find a way or make one on my own. And one of the things that I've really loved about what you've done is when I think about what the platonic ideal of having children and giving them, you know, the tools, as it were, to be able to truly thrive in a very complicated world,
Mhm.
is that you have this beautiful balance of really loving your children and supporting them and seeing who they are, and also giving them a lot of room to like make decisions on their own. You know, you mentioned that your son is recently started college, and when you know, when you and I started working with each other, we he was, you know, he was a few years younger and he was still in high school, and watching how you and your husband showed up for him and encouraged him but also didn't pressure him. You know, I think like a lot of kids who come from families of access and privilege sometimes get like pushed into the vision that their family has for them versus
Mhm.
saying,
What do you want?
what do you want to do, right? And your son is a gifted athlete, he's really passionate about it, but you guys stewarded that for him. You worked diligently to really create a remarkable amount of opportunity for him, but you never forced him into it. And I think that there is such, to me, that distinction of being able to say like, I'm doing this because this is what you want, versus I see that you're good at this and this is going to make us like look good or continue a sense of prestige or whatever the thing is. And I'm not trying like being a parent is complicated. I'm not trying to like neg what
Mhm.
people are doing. I get that there's a lot of complexity in this world, but I feel like you and your husband really found a way to like beautifully support what your children love without like forcing them and pigeonholing them. And to me, that's that's the way, right? Is to like give your children the tools that they need to thrive, support them in a really powerful way, and also give them the room to figure out what that even is. Um, so it's been remarkable to like watch, watch them grow and thrive and shift and change. And I don't know, did you freeze on me? Can you still hear me? Oh, I think that we lost her for a second. So we will just give her a minute to pop back on, and we'll get going again.
Okay.
Okay. So Hani, we were talking about just the extra you from my perspective, you have embodied the platonic ideal of what I think is like a beautiful balance for children. So I'll let you respond to that.
Okay, so I so appreciate that, and I so appreciate that you can like see that. And really, I think I was talking to somebody about this a couple of days ago. And ultimately, to just really simplify the whole everything that what you just said is when you build a relationship with your child where they give a shit about what you have to say and your advice, they want to communicate with you. They want to tell you things because they want your opinion. When you build a relationship like that, it's kind of like everything else just falls into place. And I thought that was kind of the natural way that you just do things. Not that I naturally grew up that way. And this is probably why I was hyper vigilant with it with my children without even realizing until I really dove into all the generational trauma work is I didn't grow up in a space where I could fully communicate my feelings, where I could just completely be myself, where I could express my emotions, where I felt like what I had to say was really important. And so when I became a mother 18 years ago, that was one of my biggest things was I want my children to know that they're important to the extent that I will literally say to my kids when they're talking, I or if they, kind of like dismiss me or whatever, I will say, I care about what you have to say. But so going back to what you were saying is when you create this foundation of really simply just good quality connection and communication where they care about your opinion, everything else kind of falls in place because as adults, not all adults, but it's like we have a lot of life experience that we can bestow on our children. But half, probably more than half the battle is they don't give a shit. what they don't care. They're not listening to you. They just really don't care. And so to have that connection where you can have conversations and you can talk about their feelings and their goals and what they want. And I mean, as I have the entire range of children. So it's like the conversations, obviously, that I'm having with my 18-year-old are far different than my 5-year-old, but it's the same foundation. Um, you create relationships and a family unit that where everybody is successful, for lack of a better word, like where all of our needs are getting met. And also, I say all of this like we're only human. It's not like I've never freaked out on my kids and we haven't had like I have meltdowns just like my kids have meltdowns, right? That's like human nature. However, um, I appreciate your really kind words and for recognizing that. And I really think that is my one of my like magical superpowers is I have the ability to um, really create these deep, secure connections with my children, not just in a way that is, oh, I'm your mom and you love me, or you're my child and I love you, but where it's like, yeah, we just connect very deeply, and we we're not coexisting, right? We're like active partners in life, like to set them up. And that's like the whole like foundation of Breath of Honey, my business, is to set our children up with a foundation where they can thrive and succeed, because ultimately they are the ones who are going to be taking over the world. And so if we can, and that the stage is set at home, you know?
Yeah, I love that. It's so beautiful. And it's just we're in such a I know so much of your work, right, is rooted in this energy of helping people clear the ancestral trauma, drama, karma, pain that's we all hold like this realm, whatever this planet is. It's very challenging to be able to really like be fully embodied, to be able to really steward yourself, never mind being able to like beautifully create that for your children. And I often think of it, I liken it to like a an energetic bag of rocks. Like
Mhm.
we've all got this really complicated, like when I tune into what I'm doing and why I created future medicine and what the ultimate goal is, when I look at people's energetic field, that bag of rocks is comprised of things from our own past lives, our epigenetic inheritance, family stuff, things that are happening, that happened to us in this lifetime, that happened like in future lifetimes, and all kind of like parallel
Mhm.
timelines. Like I'm a real, sort of first class weirdo who views everything from a very high
I love
level
it.
metaphysical lens. But the more that we can, you know, tune our own field back to what I believe our default state is, which is creator beings who have the capacity to live within, for, and in and through the frequency and the power of miracles. And the more we do the work on ourselves and the more we reconnect to that, it ripples through our families. And when I think about, right, like why I do what I do, I don't have children, but I have a very deep connection to the world. And I always felt like the thing that I was really meant to do was to just like do something really on a large scale to help steward that energy of restoration and reclamation. And it's all for the children, it's all for the plants, it's all for the
Mhm.
hand, the animals, and the what I call like the hearts and hands of this realm, which is like each of us who is alive and has a connection to our heart and our magic. And the more we can really go deep and give ourselves room to just admit the complexity of the journey and start to restore our own connectivity, it ripples through our families, through our communities, through the world. And it really sets up, a much better future for everyone coming, for your son and your daughters, and for my own family and community and this entire planet. And you are really, I know I keep saying it, but you really understand that. And I feel like for mothers especially, the journey is so complicated. The process of like carrying a human in your body, going through that process, there's so much. Like, I have dear friends who have had many children, and the reality of what it feels like to be pregnant, to go through that part of it, to then like experience the postpartum, of the bonding
Mhm.
and the like physical effect of having had a baby, and like the trauma and the physicality of that, to have someone like you who really understands what like he keep calling it the platonic ideal of like motherhood, to be able to sit with someone. And you also don't, you're not like going to pretend that like you're always perfect, that there aren't
Mhm.
moments where things don't get like complicated. One of the things that happened not that long after we started working with each other is that you guys live in Hawaii, and you live in a place that was heavily affected by the fires that happened there a few years ago. And Oh, I said it at the beginning
Mhm.
that I call myself a known crier.
Mhm.
And here I am. I'm like, um,
It's something
you
to cry about for sure.
you you rose, well, you rose to the occasion of having something so chaotic, so unexpected, so deeply stressful. And you and your husband both were just like, we've got this. And it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always like clean or simple. You guys had to move, what was it, 8 times?
Yeah. Yeah.
Four
Like,
with 4 kids, you guys had to move 8 times in the period of a year. And still, even through all of that, you still both found a way to support your son in making his dream come true of being able to find a way of landing at a Division 1 school for his
mhm,
passion, which is swimming. And to really like sit with that energy when we do not, as a society, most of us, you didn't come from, you mentioned this already, you didn't come from something like that, your husband didn't come from something like
mm-mm,
that.
no.
But to be able to like understand, and that's where that sense of like having been born remembering that wisdom, which from like my perspective,
Mhm,
you always knew that there was a better way and that you were going to find a way to be able to like embody that for your kids. And
mhm,
it is just, it's what we need, right? Like we don't have nobody's teaching this stuff, you don't learn it in school. Like there's
no.
no, it actually benefits the systems, from my perspective, the systems of garbage and chaos and nonsense and misinformation that have infiltrated all of our education, our politics, our society, our religion, our culture, our entertainment. Like there's, from my perspective, there's no system that hasn't been infiltrated by that level of just like chaotic nonsense.
Mhm,
And to be able to remain really grounded through challenge with that level of fortification and still keep your eyes on like the prize and really keep showing up for yourself and your family. I think, like, to me, that's one of the reasons too why um future medicine is so powerful, is because I am not the mentor or the guide who's going to pretend that the human experience is perfect, and that it's not like going to be, there are not going to be moments where you have things like what unfolded for you guys
mhm,
during those fires. But to me, that's part of the power and the beauty and the light, and why I created future medicine, was to literally create like energetic protections, energetic remembrance, to really essentially fine tune, you and everyone who finds me's field to this level where when the shit hits the fan, because it will, because we're in a, like, this realm is absolute clown world,
mhm.
that you're able to hold the balance of being able to be like, you know what, everything is just like garbage right now. It's hard as fuck, but I'm going to dust off. I'm going to stay anchored into my highest path of favor. Even though nothing makes sense, I'm going to trust that there is something miraculous for me. And it was like dollars for donuts at every turn, like through the course of that journey. It was just like over and over and over again. You guys would just like find the right opportunity
Mhm,
and things would all fall into place. And I think to be able to hold that, like most people don't have the capacity to be able to hold that duality, to say, I I know that miracles are real, and
mhm.
sometimes stuff is going to get really challenging, and I'm going to just move through all of it with as much grace as I possibly fucking can. And you are like like
And
a
I think
million gold stars.
to add on to that too, I think when you do these like deeper levels of work, through future medicine, through generational trauma healing. You know what's kind of funny? This is just kind of coming to me. So for a little while, I got so irritated with the term generational trauma. I'm like, it just bugs me. Like I just
Yeah.
don't even like generational. It's like annoying. And then I was like, really, it's just like generational drama. And so then, right? But anyways, I don't know why that just came to me. Point being is when when you actually go into it and you feel it, and it's like, it's not like you do this kind of work and like you said, everything is just like unicorns and rainbows. Like it's like you're still having this human experience, but you do these deeper layers of work and you're able to manage the things that life throws at you, whether it's relationship things, work things, your entire town burning down, kid things, financial things, whatever it is, you can handle it with um, um from kind of like a more mature lens, if you know, where it's like, okay, and even if you have a meltdown, you can get back to that neutral space and it's like, all right, what do I do from here, you know? And a lot of the work that I do is relationship work, whether that's relationship with your children, with your husband, with your partner, with friends, with your mom, whatever it is. um and that we're relational beings. It's so, so, so fucking important. And I think that was one of the huge things that got us through everything so successfully is my husband and I, as partners and in relationship with each other, were able to manage these things. Not that it was always easy, not that we didn't fight, and but the way that we came, not even came into it, but the way that we were able to come back to it, right? Like that's the whole thing, is like being able, like, okay, blah, now we're here again. Okay, regroup. Um, so yeah, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. I was
No,
just
it's
kind of adding on to what you were saying.
yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and so doing these basic, yeah, doing these deeper levels of work through like what you do and what I do, you you can manage life. Someone like a little kitty is coming, it gets your vibe. Totally, like I'm not um
Mm.
this, yeah, this cat was just about to jump on my computer. I'm outside. um you're able to manage life with, from like you said, much more gracefully, and confidently, and more secure, and just grounded. So it's really, really, really important. And you can go into it thinking, I don't even know what I'm going to get out of all of this, but that's not really the point. It's like, you know, 2 months, 2 years, 5 years down the road, you all of a sudden, like how we started this conversation, you look back and you're like, oh, wow, I had said that I want to go live in other places. And now here I am in Greece, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's amazing too because well, you that was one of the things that we talked about from like very early into your experience with private mentorship with me was that you wanted more freedom. You wanted to be able to really create like an experiential reality for your kids so that they could see the world and cultivate creativity and intellect and curiosity and really give them experiences that I think in a lot of ways, no matter how good a school is that a child goes through, that there are a lot of gaps in education, and you really wanted to do something that would like create something like really beautiful, a truly new path for your family. And it was so interesting because this thing that you're doing now it was like on the list
The
essentially.
radar,
And
yeah.
right from like the very beginning of like helping to like create this path forward for you of your highest favor essentially, where you landed in the space where you would be able to do this. And here you are now, you're literally doing it. Like I was saying before we kicked off, I'm over
Yeah.
here, with bated breath, with my phone all the time being like, ooh, what's she doing now? Where is she on this beautiful trip that like we essentially foretold during
Yeah.
your sessions
Hmm.
all those years ago, and all the work that we did over time to like help create. And you did it, right? I'm not saying that like but from my
Yeah.
perspective to like essentially what I do, right, is I hold the vision, I create the energetic support, I do a lot behind the scenes. The future medicine, having gone through my certification program, this, it's a level of depth the what I have done in creating future medicine and in stewarding it and sharing it with people like you who also hold this massive, what I would argue to be like top tier level of spiritual intelligence and like a real desire to create permanent lasting change in this realm, that I've literally been studying and working energetics and like paying attention. I'm gifted with pattern recognition. I was born hyper psychic. I can like see and feel and experience so much that other people don't understand and can't see, and have, through the process of like mind wipes and, just like interference and things from the systems through which we move, that work really hard to like oppress that. And I took decades of personal experience and observation, and essentially I think of future medicine as a lot of things, but one of the things that I think about it is, I feel like it's a real antidote in many ways to, this just like chaotic noise and misinformation and nonsense. And to watch what unfolded for you during the time that we were, that
Mhm.
I was supporting you for years privately. Like one thing in particular, I think it's so interesting because I feel like we're in this like moment where a lot of people still, even though there's ironically a lot of evidence, as it were, about how we are spiritual beings, that energy is real, there are still a lot of people who can't like wrap their brain around things that are not tangible. And yet, every single time when I support someone long term and I see what unfolds for people who are able to like take a deep dive into the unknown, it makes it so that your level of abundance, your connection to the right opportunities at the right time, being able to, embody greater impact and mission through your work, pleasure, joy, experience, all of that completely changes when you move into this like metaphysical awareness. And it's also super wild. I can't forget this because it's just one of the things that, like, to me, we'll wrap up soon. But one of the things that happened, I should get my tissue again here as I'm about to say this, but one of the things that I years and years, like 20 something years ago, longer than that, when I was like in my early 20s, I was working with a teacher who also had a very big vision. And he told a story about something that had happened with one of his wife's mentors, about energy work that she had done on the village that her family, or town, that her family lived in during World War II. And he told the story of her creating energetic protections around the place that she lived, and they never got bombed. And I remember thinking that was something that I remember, as he told the story, I remember literally thinking to myself, I know how to do that. I know what he's talking about. And I could like literally see how I could like see that it was something that I was going to be, that I was like meant to also do, was to create these powerful protections around people's space. It's something that I teach you guys how to do in the certification program. I do it for my private clients. And a few months before the fires in Lahaina, I did a bunch of work to create like light grids of protection around your house and your property and your land. And when the and when what happened, your house was the only house in your neighborhood that didn't get destroyed.
I know. I
And
know. And you want to know something that's so, so beautiful is that after, I mean, this is me just totally fast forwarding, but after this incredible journey that we're on this year, we are going back to our house for the first time in 2.5 years. Yeah. So
I
I've done all the tears. Now I'm just, yeah, it's like my kids, like it's like it's almost yeah, it doesn't feel like a letdown. It's like, wow, we're traveling the world and seeing all these places. And I know I'm not getting into all the details here because it's not for here, but you can follow me on Instagram and go along with it. But yeah, we get to go back to our home that was protected and saved from the fire and finally be there for, it'll be close to 3 years that we haven't lived there. And also I want to add on to what you were saying is that when I started working with you and then in the future medicine certification when we were doing all of the practice um on protecting spaces and things like that, I had been doing that without even like realizing it
Yeah.
at all. It was like I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I
I'm
do that,
already
like kind
doing
of
this.
in a different way. There's my sweet daughter Mila, who should needs to go to bed. 1 second, sweetheart. Go. I love you. Thank you. Um, so yeah, so I had been innately kind of just doing that without even realizing. And so it was
Yeah.
really, really cool going through it with you to kind of like put it into a tangible ish kind of thing. I mean, however tangible energy can be, you know? And then what was also really cool, just to build on that future medicine, was when I decided to travel, I created all of my work into self-led programs for pregnancy, postpartum, and into your womanhood, motherhood journey, because I knew I wasn't going to have the space and time and capacity to be working one-on-one. And so, in everything that I recorded, I intentionally infuse all of the future energy medicine into everything, which was really, really fun to
That
do.
was
So, and it lives on forever, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I could literally talk to you for like 14 more
Yeah.
hours, but I want to be respectful of just the gift that you have given all of us and sharing your story and, carving time on this like profoundly beautiful adventure that you are moving. It's very late where you are, so we'll wrap it up. But I'm so grateful for you having like shared this wisdom and time for everything that you do for mothers and children and the land and families and dads, and like you have created this beautiful, highly resonant body of work and possibility for women as they move through this like art and process and journey of restoring their own truth and being the best, parents and um, just creative beings in this beautiful way. So you guys find Hani everywhere. I'll give you a second to share again how people can connect with you. And I will say before I do that, if you guys are interested in the certification program or in working with me again, you can find me at weareheretoremember.com. The certification program starts again next year in like the late winter, early spring. So I would love to connect if you are interested. And yeah, Hani, let everybody know how they can find you.
Okay, so once again, breathofhani.com. That's my website, has absolutely all the information you could ever want or need, whether you're pregnant, postpartum, a mother in your womanhood journey, just needing some relationship support. I also didn't mention at the beginning, I do have a free community called Breathe and Thrive, where we do once a month live breath work. And there's a whole resource library within it. It's on Kajabi. And so there's different meditations, breath works, journaling prompts, kind of whatever theme I have going on or whatever's kind of coming through, I'll kind of for the month focus on things. We also do a once a month live Q&A. Um, and so that's a really cool space just to
So
kind of,
fun.
yeah, dip
Yeah.
your toes in if you'd like. And you can find that either via Instagram, breathofhoney.com, or on my website. There's all the links. Sign up for my newsletter. You'll get all of everything you need. So yeah, it was so nice to talk to you.
Oh,
Thank you for
I
having me.
love you. Thank you for being here. Sweet dreams to all of you. And yeah, you guys find Hani, find me in all the places. And thank you again so much for your time and your vision and your passion and your beauty. It is a true gift for me. I always say it's a profound honor and deep joy for me to be able to like help people restore their magic and their gifts, and you are chef's kiss, living the dream. All right. Goodbye, you guys. Thank you so much for being
Bye.
here.